Hey, peace and elevation. It's your brother Mike X. Welcome to another clip on my YouTube channel, Brother Mike X Speaks. Tonight, I'm going to be building with my good brother. For those of you who have been following Brother Mike X Speaks, y'all will remember the good brother Ty.
Peace and love, family.
Strong brother, you know, dynamic brother. You know, we've been building for a long time. One of the things that I admire the most from brother Ty is, number one, first and foremost, he's a student. You know, I met this brother some years ago, man, up in Barnes and Nobles, and you know, I would always see the brother building with the same type of urgency and diligence that I, you know, build from, you know, and seeking that knowledge and striving to learn how to apply it to my personal life and to our overall condition and conditioning as a people. So we're here tonight to talk about a few things, you know, but I want to start off first with talking about the Colin Kaepernick situation. You know, as y'all know, Colin Kaepernick last football season, he stood up. Actually, he knelt down, right, and, you know, refused to you know, pay homage to the national anthem and to the flag, you know, and it was a protest against the treatment of black lives, you know, where a lot of brothers and young people and others and sisters for that matter, there's been a rash of police murders, you know, that have been caught on film, and cases have been tried, and there's been no charges time after time after time. These murderers of black life, you know, have gotten off, you know, and it's caused a lot of tension in the country, you know. And so a lot of us last year, when we saw Colin Kaepernick making the stand that he was making, we already was saying, yo, he probably ain't gonna get signed next year. You know, there were death threats, you know, leveled his way. There were people who were calling him unpatriotic. And now, as the football season is about to begin, Colin Kaepernick is still without a job. And before we go into talking about that, it also should be known that Colin Kaepernick, as an individual, not only did he, you know, protest the flag, and there were a few other people I remember who had started to protest with him. I remember a brother named Brandon Marshall, you know, had started protesting with him, and he lost a couple of endorsements, you know, last year. And, you know, some of us were saying that, some of us are saying, like, yo, there's bigger fish to fry, you know, than Colin Kaepernick and boycotting the NFL, you know. But I'm one of those people, and yeah, I would admit that there's bigger things that, you know, that we need to be worried about than just this whole thing about, you know, whether we should support him or whether we should boycott. But I think that we have to begin to start supporting other members of the family, you know, and what they find important. You know, if it's progressive, if it's about us coming together, unifying, showing that we have economic and political clout, that when we come together on a social level, man, that we can pressure people to begin to respect us on a higher level, you know, we need to join on to some of these efforts. It can't be where we just sit back and say, you know, well, yo, y'all wasn't down, you know, for the reparations march, man, so I'm not down with your boycott of the NFL. You know what I mean? Yo, brother, how this sounding to you, man? Because these are some of the things that I'm hearing in regards to, you know, what's going on right now with the Colin Kaepernick situation and the NFL. And I'm hearing there's some people that are saying, yo, we need to come together and we need to boycott this joint. You know, and then I see other members of the family, you know, from the so-called conscious community, a lot of them that are like, yo, man, forget that boycott, you know, we need to be thinking about our nationality, or we need to be thinking about this, or we need to be thinking about that. How you feel about that, bro?
Brother, man, I mean, it's such a complex situation that we're in, man. I mean, you could look at it from either side, really. You know, we should pay attention to Colin's situation because it all ties into the greater picture, right? We just so divided as a people, bro.
Yeah.
We divided. So
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot, bro. I mean, you gotta think about it. Collins, he's handling it from his point of view, from what he can do, from where he is, and he's boycotting essentially his job, his industry, his occupation, which is essentially putting himself in the crosshairs, putting himself in the danger zone. Now he's in a place where he can't pay his bills now, so he's standing up for what he believes in, for the greater whole as black people. Yeah, it's not as important as the greater whole in regards to industry or the penitentiary system, the educational system, the medical system. Yeah, there's other industries where we need to address. However, he's taking a stand in an industry, right? He's taking it upon himself to do what he can. Instead of just talking about it, he's doing it. He's making moves. He's putting himself in dangerous way to further the movement, right? So I support him what he's doing. I support the fact that he's continuing the struggle for equality, for real equality. So I commend him. You know, so for the other people who say, oh, we have other things to worry about, true. However, what he's addressing is something we also have to be concerned about, right? It's essentially turning a blind eye to our history, to what's going on. I mean, this is a piece of a major puzzle here. Yes, it's minuscule compared to the whole, but you got to start somewhere. Already. And he's starting somewhere. Already. So I respect the man for doing so.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's how I see it, man. That's how I see it. So I respect him for making a decision. I respect him for making a decision in his industry, where he get his bread, where he gets his means of living, his means of sustenance. So he's not just talking about it. He's being about it. And he's being about it in a very dangerous fashion, because he's playing with his money. Now he's not playing with his money. The industry, the corporation, the status quo is playing with his money only because he's standing for what he needs to stand up for.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that answers your questions or not, bro.
Nah, it's all good. We're going to keep it moving.
But yeah.
I think that it should also be known, you know, as I said, Colin Kaepernick, he didn't just take the stand, and when last season's football season ended, he didn't just, you know, retire and just drop off the map. And, you know, he continued to be visible. You know, he continued, you know, to go into, he sponsored or helped to sponsor a lot of different know your rights rallies and different things, man, to teach young people, you know, how to be safe in these streets and how to survive contact with police.
Right.
You know, he's also, you know, been engaged in humanitarian efforts, you know, to take to third world countries, man, food and different, you know, medical aid and things of that nature. And you're absolutely right. You know, in a sea of, you know, silence, you know, from most black/African, you know, sports stars, in a sea of silence, man, his stance was thunderous, you know. And as I said last year, you know, if we don't support this man, and if we don't stand up and strive to bring our united, organized pressure to bear on the NFL, you know, to show clear and discernible support for what he did for us, to respond by supporting him, then what message is that sending to the next brother who might be thinking about, you know, standing up in their industry to use their platform, where a lot of times we don't have a whole lot of platforms? You know, that's another thing that this thing kind of speaks to. Why do black people always look to sports stars and entertainment figures to speak up on their behalf? One of the reasons is, man, is because a lot of times that's the only platform that the community has. You know, on a national or international level, you know, to speak out against, you know, things that are going on in our neighborhood. And this is why a lot of times we look to our sports stars and our entertainment figures, you know, to stand up and to use you know, their mic, you know, their platform to speak up, to try to, you know, lend positive spotlight on the injustices that we continue to suffer in these neighborhoods. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that, you know, what's the problem with you just turning the TV off? I'm not watching that football for a season. What's the problem with you saying, yo, man, I'm not spending my hard-earned money on these tickets, you know, when they're showing not just, you know, disdain towards Colin Kaepernick, they're showing disdain towards an entire community. You know, I believe 40 million plus Black/African people they're showing disdain to. It's not just about the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. It's about the community, you know, that he comes from, that he's speaking up for. You know, they're defying not just him, they're defying the power of all 40 million plus, you know, Black/African people. You know, like to dare us to see, I mean, in some regards, just how far we gonna take it. You know, so no, you can't have a slot on any roster of the 32 teams this year. You know, when there's other players in the NFL right now who are domestic, you know, who have engaged in domestic violence, you know what I mean, have engaged in, you know, in other forms of misconduct, you know, but they have a job. But here you have someone who's taking advantage of their so-called First Amendment right, freedom of speech, but they're paying the cost of nobody's gonna rock with this dude. You know what I mean? So,
bro, you hit it right on the head, man. And it's indicative of the society that we're living in.
Yeah. Because
exactly what you're saying. It's not really about Colin Kaepernick and NFL. It's about us. It's about us. So to see the response that he's getting is essentially the response for any black man or woman who's going to stand up in a public light. That's what's going to, he or she is going to receive. That type of resistance, that type of conflict from society. And not only from society, not from the enemy, whomever the enemy may be, right? But also from our brothers and sisters. See, the big thing is unity. Granted, this is, again, minute compared to the whole, but if we could unify just for this simple thing, it shows a unified front, it shows a posture of strength, and it shows cohesion. It shows people working together for a common goal.
Already.
Even if it may be a minuscule purpose, but still, it's about unity, right? It's about unity. So if we can agree upon what's going on in regards to the inequality, and regardless if we go from the top to the bottom, we should all be in cohesion with one another. We should all be together. We should all be with Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick and us should be with another person in another industry. Education. This is sports. This is sports intertwined with social issues. We should be with him. Why? Because he's standing up for us. He's standing up for you. He's standing up for he, she, all of us. And he's taking some punishment right now.
Already.
He's taking some personal punishment for something that others see as not important. But it's important enough for him to be messing up his money, messing up his lifestyle. Right? So what is it to join with this brother? What that do is essentially, it gives us, it gives him, it gives the voices power and ultimately direction to solve what's going on, man. Because what's going on right now with the, you know, kind of taking an off topic right now with the black president just getting out of office, people think that everything is okay. Like everything is equal. You know, black people shouldn't have anything to worry about. Look, we just had a black guy in office, you know, but when you look at industry, it's not enough time to go through each industry. Just look at the industries. Look at the statistics in the industries. The penitentiary industry, the educational industry, the occupational industry. You're going to see a clear disparity. A clear, unbalanced equation to how things are supposed to be running. So to tie all this back into the Colin Kaepernick, this is about unity, people.
No doubt.
That's all it's about. It's about unity. Even if you may not agree to the T, but it's about taking a united front and all standing in unison to get something done.
Already.
Divide and conquer is the tool of the devil, and they use it effectively.
No doubt. You know, couple of things, you know, I was thinking about as you speaking, because this is not the first time that we've had someone stand up for us. I mean, we all know about, you know, our great brother Muhammad Ali and what he suffered, man, by opposing the Vietnam War.
Right.
You know, and how he stood up and he used his platform as the heavyweight champion to speak out against the war and said, you know, them Viet Cong never called me nigga. I'm not going across seas.
Right.
You know, and we know what they tried to do to him. They stripped him of his belt. You know, then they tried to imprison him, you know, and he lost about 4 or 5 years of his the best years of his boxing career, right. You know, fighting to regain his freedom and regain an opportunity to practice his livelihood as a heavyweight boxer. You know what I mean? Then we had the brother Craig Hodges, you know, used to play for the Chicago Bulls, you know, a teammate of Michael Jordan during his first 3 championships. And Craig Hodges was a 3-time NBA 3-point champion, you know, and he made the mistake of, I believe, you know, depending upon who you're talking to, I know he went to the White House, you know, when they win the championship, they go to the White House. He didn't wear a suit and tie. He wore this black flight jacket, man, with gold letters saying unite. You know what I mean? Emblazoned across his chest. And there's a story where he invited Michael Jordan to go see Farrakhan. You know what I mean? And, you know, some other things. I believe they said that he gave a letter to George Bush, or he gave a letter, you know, describing, you know, running down a list of injuries that he said, you know, the United States has perpetuated or perpetrated upon black people. So anyway, him doing all of these things, him as, you know, someone who has a world championship ring, him as someone on an individual level, he's a 3-time NBA, 3-time 3-point champion, you know, and all of a sudden he can't get a job no more. You know, just like Colin Kaepernick. Now you're going to have someone who's established themselves winning 3 3-point championships, I believe, back to back. You know, obviously the man can score. Obviously he's a benefit to any NBA team, but all of a sudden nobody wants him no more, you know? And it's the same type of situation that's going on with Colin Kaepernick. Then you have the other brother, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. They used to play for the Denver Nuggets. You know, as a Muslim, you know, as a black, you know, and a black man and a Muslim, he stopped standing up for the national anthem, you know, and he paid with it for his career. You know what I'm saying? Now, some would argue like, yo, those brothers weren't the ones who should have stood up, you know, because they were good, but they didn't have that superstar status like a Michael Jordan, you know, to where if Michael Jordan would have stood up on our behalf, you know, with his superstar status, he would have been able to survive, you know, the scrutiny that would, you know, was going to be leveled at him. Yeah, I believe that Michael Jordan would have been able to survive it, but Michael Jordan didn't choose to stand up. It was Craig Hodges. You know what I mean? It was Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. You know, some people today say, you know, somebody else maybe other than Colin Kaepernick should have stood up. Maybe they should have, but they didn't. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yo, we got to stop finding or looking for reasons to not join on, like brother said, in support of initiative taking amongst the family. You know, our good brother, and I said this in an Instagram I put up the other day, our good brother, Kwame Ture, you know, also and better known as Stokely Carmichael. He once said that I work harder on initiatives, you know, taken amongst the family. I work harder on the ones that I don't agree with, because I believe that the quicker we can, you know, see that this isn't the one, this isn't what's going to get us the type of freedom or the type of result that we want, the quicker we'll be ready to go into another form of action, you know, that might be the one that's going to get us closer to our objective. So he didn't say, yo, if I don't agree with an initiative, I'm not going to, you know, support it. He said, nah, I'm going to work harder to support it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to give it all of the energy I got, you know, because either it's going to work or either it's going to be a learning experience. You know what I mean? So, you know, brother, we're getting ready to wrap up, man. You know, what are some of the closing thoughts or things that you might, you know, feel, you know, we need to hear, man, dealing with this issue right now?
You touched on it. You were saying Carmichael, being that he may not necessarily agree 100% with an initiative, he's also going to be a part of it to further the movement. I think that's important. You know, as long as it's not going against the movement, it's not contrary to the movement, I think it's very important that we support one another already in regards to the movement in any facet or aspect it may be. You know, one may be fashion, another one may not be fashionable or interested in fashion, but if that person could help that person, it just only furthers the movement.
Yes.
You know, just an example. So unity is perhaps what I would say. What I do say is unity and support for one another.
Yes.
You know, unity, support, and without respect, you can't unify or support anything.
That's
you
right.
must respect your fellow brother. You must respect your fellow sister. You must respect yourself before we can offer respect or get respect in return.
Already.
Yeah, so that's,
Already.
you know, just, you know, free thinking,
No
respect,
doubt.
unification, and supporting one another.
No doubt. No doubt. And you know, family, you know, there's some of us, man, who have been conscious for a long time, you know, and some of us, you know, we've been studying for a long time. We've been involved in striving to organize people for a long time. And I think that sometimes those of us who have been at this for a long time, we forget that we had to start somewhere. You know, yeah, you might have read 1,000 books, man, you know, by now. Yeah, you may have been around the world, man, and been down with this protest and that march and that grassroots effort over there. You know what I mean? But don't hold those who are waking up for the first time to the injustices. Don't try to hold them to your lofty heights, man. Let them get in, you know what I mean, where they fit in, or let them begin where they're at. You know what I'm saying? In regards to our movement, man, in this country as a Black/African people, you know, we got to recognize, man, that, you know, I don't think that we're not going to have one spontaneous, monolithic, you know, awakening where 40 million plus, you know, just jump up out of nowhere and all get on the same page and are ready to move in a united, you know, fashion. I don't believe it's going to happen that way. And to be honest with you, I also don't necessarily believe that we're going to save everyone. You know, I think that there are some who are so conditioned, you know, to being arrogantly ignorant, you know, and uninvolved and self-hating, you know what I mean? That, you know, they're just not, they don't want to, they're not gonna get involved. And at the same time, you don't need everybody to start, you know? You don't need everybody to start. The Black Panther Party, man, for self-defense, it started with Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. You know what I mean? 2 individuals. Year later on, it became a national and even international movement. But it didn't start out as an international movement. It didn't start out as a national movement.
Right.
It started with 2 people, you know what I mean, who were looking at something, you know, the injustices in their neighborhood, particularly police brutality, and they decided that they wanted to come together to do something. It started off with those 2. Then they invited the young brother who was later killed, little Bobby Hutton. That made 3 of them, and then they was off to the races. You know what I mean? So having said that, man, you know, yes, I do believe that, yeah, there are bigger fish to fry. But, you know, we got to start somewhere. And one of the places that we got to start is we got to start showing these industries that are taking us for granted, you know what I mean, and taking our money for granted and not affording us the same respect that they afford to other racial, ethnic, you know, political, cultural, even gender preference groups. You know, the LGBTQ community has more political clout, more economic clout than the Black/African people have at this point.
Facts.
You know what I mean? They're better unified and organized as a group. You know, they show greater social unity, which opens them up to wielding greater political and economic power, you know, to where they're not allowing their selves to be trampled in this society anymore, forcing politicians and others, you know, to capitulate to their needs, wants, and concerns. You know what I mean? So what's up with us as a Black/African people? Why can't we stop fighting each other, you know, over who's going to take the top bill, you know, and learn how to agree to disagree on certain things, you know what I mean? And come together on points that it's not, you know, that we should not be opposing each other on. There's no way in the world, man, that we can't just decide that, yo, I'm turning that TV off so I could be in league with supporting this brother who stood up for us. You know what I mean? And also supporting other members of the family who are calling for a boycott, you know, to put pressure on the NFL to stop disrespecting us in the form, you know, of showing disdain to Colin Kaepernick, who stood up for us, man. You know, so having said that, man, you know, yo, let me know what you think. You know what I mean? And let us start learning how to put our egos to the side, you know, to figure out, man, how we can build a greater social cohesion, you know, in our neighborhoods, man, you know, across this country, man, so that we can stand up. And after we fry this fish, this little fish, you know, as some people call it, you know, if we're effective frying this fish, man, and getting some justice on this little thing, then maybe, you know, we can use that momentum, man, to go after some of the bigger fish, man, that have to be fried. So having said that, man, I say peace and elevation to you. I say peace to Brother Ty, man.
Peace,
thank you
peace.
for addressing this with me, man.
You already know, man. I'm supposed to. It's my responsibility, bro.
Already. And
Right.
peace to you, man, for listening, man. All right, take care. Peace and elevation.